Hi guys, Coco here with another review. And today I've got something that if you're in the middle of nowhere with a puncture, you might want one of these. It's a tyre pump made by CYCPLUS. A few days ago I went on a ride, took the CYCPLUS, so let's see what I found out.
This is the CYCPLUS AS2 Pro Max. It's a battery-operated tyre pump, and I'll just let you know that they gave me this for free to evaluate it, but I will give you my honest opinion. They started making these back in 2017, a much smaller unit as bicycle tyre pumps. But of course everyone wants something bigger and better, and they increase the size and capacity, which makes it viable now for motorcycle tyres. Of course it still says bicycle tyre pump on the box, go figure. Anyway, so let's have a look at the stats. It's a solid unit with a metal case, and the silicone outer case helps protect the pump as well as your fingers, as it may get hot. It weighs just 205 grams, a bit over 7 ounces. It's 81 by 60 by 32 mil, or a bit over 3 by 2 by 1 inches. It has a 600 milliamp hour battery and can pump up to 120 psi, not that you'll ever need that for motorcycle tyres. You get this little extender hose, waterproof bag, a charge cable, a spare O-ring, which is nice, and various adapters which you can use on your push bike, or much anything that needs air. The pump costs $129 US. That's just under 200 Aussie. So yes, it is on the expensive side. So the AS2 Pro Max is really simple to operate. 3 little buttons on it. You just hold down the top button, turn it on, and then to start the pump, push the same button, and push the same button again to stop it. The 2 buttons below are set your PSI value, so up and down, and if you hold them together, you can measure in bar if you prefer to do that. The 3 little dots on the left-hand bottom side of the screen show your battery charge. So I've been carrying the CYCPLUS in my little tyre repair kit. As you can see, it fits right in nice and easily. I've got the extender hose up here. So I've deflated my tyre, and we're going to do a test using the CYCPLUS. So we'll turn it on, and we then just set the PSI value, in this case 28 PSI for a 390 Adventure. And then we'll put the extender hose on, put it on the valve, and let's see how it goes. So that it's reading, and 0 PSI. I'll make sure we get our 28, and we turn it on, and we let it go and see what happens. It's got this nice swivel on it, so you can actually move it around without undoing it on the valve, which is nice. Okay, 1.5 minutes and we're at 20 PSI. And there we go. That is 2 minutes 28 seconds. We're at the 28 PSI. All done. So we just disconnect it. And it does get a bit warm, particularly around this little connector here of the tube. Put that cap back on. We're ready to roll. So the question is, how many times can you inflate your tyre in one charge? Well, I did a test on the 390 here. I inflated the rear tyre from 0 to 28 PSI twice, and then up to 19 PSI on the 3rd time, and then it was flat and done. But that's 3 times that'd get me out of trouble. 19's enough to keep going. So when I ride with Brent and the dirt crew, we do get punches occasionally, but not all the time. But if we got 1 or 2 flats, you know, that wouldn't be hard. We could use the CYCPLUS, pump those 2 flats up, and we'd be away and off and running. And when we're on the enduro bikes, of course, we wouldn't inflate them to 28 PSI. If we're on sand or we just want more traction on the rocks and what have you, we might be somewhere between 12 and 20, whatever, for the terrain. So of course we're going to get more inflations with those lower values. Now we all have bad days on the trail, and if you do have a lot of flats and maybe you pinch the tube putting another tube in and it's just a bad day, you need to have more inflations. You can recharge the unit from the bike using USB cable. However, they say it takes 1 hour to recharge. That's not my experience. It took 1 hour 32 I thought it might have been the charger, so I changed it with a different charger the next time, and it took an hour 34, and that charger apparently had more output. So, but if you're on the trail and you just need to get it to 15 psi, maybe you can plug it in for 20 minutes and that will be enough to get you up to about 15 psi. Who knows? But I think it probably will and get you out of trouble. Just note that you can't use the unit while it's plugged in and charging. It just won't work. And I think that USB port is where it actually sucks in the fresh air anyway. It also is not waterproof, so don't give it a dunk. But I don't think that's a problem for adventure riders. We all have waterproof luggage and it will be stowed away fairly safely, I think. So I contacted representatives of CYCPLUS to ask them about the life expectancy of the pump, and they said that depends pretty much on the usage habits. They recommend that you charge it at least once a month and don't let it get wet. And they do have a 1-year repair or replacement on quality issues, which is pretty good.
Okay, so there's the CYCPLUS on the trail. So I'm going to wrap this up with a pros and cons list. So let's start with the pros. It has solid construction and protection. And the pump is small and light, and you can throw it in your tyre kit or backpack and you hardly know it's there. The screen is nice and clear and the unit could not be easier to operate. It can inflate a tyre easily, and in my case at least 2 times fully on one charge. It's easy to recharge using the USB port on your bike. And if you happen to be flying somewhere for a ride where you can't take CO2 bottles on the plane, but you can take the CYCPLUS. And now let's look at the cons. Price is probably the #1 thing. It is on the expensive side, but you're paying for less size and weight in a package that does get the job done. I've found pumps for a lot less, but they're twice the size and weight. It'd be really good if the CYCPLUS had some sort of switch to bypass the battery and be able to run the unit straight off your USB port on the bike. Then it would be the pump for all situations. That'd be a great thing. And the last one is something for the hose to be put away in. At the moment, the hose being separate, it's easy to lose or to misplace. And I think if they built some sort of holder into the silicon maybe, that would be a great idea. I did contact them about this, and CYCPLUS tell me that they're working in this area, and so hopefully future models will have something that holds it all together. I really like this pump. I think it sits in a really good spot. The AS2 Pro Max is the right size and weight to pack away easily for adventure riders, and you get enough pumps out of it to get yourself out of trouble. And of course, you can recharge. If I was out in the middle of the Simpson Desert, would I want something that could pump all day? Probably, but that's a question you might have to ask yourself. Now, there's a lot of competitors out there, and according to your style of riding and where you're riding, it might suit your needs or might not. You've got to ask yourself how many tyre inflations will you need in one hit off a battery. I think it does enough, but you might need more. You might be in larger groups and you might be the tyre guy, so you might need something bigger and better. But of course, bigger and better means more weight, so that's for you to decide as well. I hope you've enjoyed this review of the AS2 Pro Max. Do your research, check out how it sits for your riding and your style. For me, it's going to stay in the kit. I think it's a great little unit. Now, if you want to buy one, there is a link below and you get a 5% discount. Yes, I make a little commission off that, but that does go to help producing these videos. It'd be great if you could subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to see all our ADV videos over on Brent's channel. Have a look at them, they're great fun. So take care, safe riding, see you next time, bye.